to the owner there. And I said, I've been trying to duplicate this recipe for years. I use beets in it, and it makes the brown rice look like blood, so it looks like real burger. It's the best burger I've ever tasted. And I got a hold of the owner one day, about 2 years later, and I said, I really want that recipe. He said, oh, we can't give it out. And I said, but I'm a chef. I said, I can figure it out. He said, I'll tell you what's in it, and you'll never be able to duplicate it. And I did my first try.
Wow.
My kids come over to the house. It was this January, and they said they were having a Super Bowl. Was it January or February? Super Bowl party we do every year. And yeah, and I made this wonderful burger, and everybody's like, wow. These were not vegetarians. These were meat-eating people, and they ate that burger. That's the best burger I ever ate in my life. Sister, you don't need to buy something somebody else has made and put tons of chemicals in there to give it years of shelf life, when you can take a Twinkie and have it for 14 years and it never even gets.
That's true. I read that.
I mean, you can. Somebody left it in their glove box. And you can do it in Texas at 110 degrees. And have you ever seen a McDonald's burger 3 years later and there's no mold on the meat?
French fries. French fries.
Same way, no mold. And shouldn't bacteria grow on good food?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so remember this. And I want every one of you, no matter what I give you this information this weekend, I'm not giving this to you for you to do what I did. I'm giving it to you so you can live the healthiest, pain-free, medication-free life that God wants you to live. It's up to you. I am not the food police. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell you, folks, if at my age at 60 years old, I have the energy that I have, and I feel as good as I feel, can you imagine how you're going to feel? And I started in my 50s, so it's not like, well, I'm already too old, so what good's it going to do me? You know what? I walked a half marathon. I've done all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. I had some people once said, Melanie, are you sure you walk that much? I'm going to show you my miles. I can pass this around. Right now, today, what am I this week?
You're at what, which miles? Talking about 8.7?
Very top, at the very top.
2.73 miles.
How much?
2.73.
No, how many miles am I for the week?
49.
Go to last, okay, that's okay. Now, go to last week.
Oh, 53.
Go to the week before.
52.
The week before.
43.
The week before.
50. 26. All that.
So listen,
That's
so
right.
you sure you can program it yourself to make this?
Right here.
Okay.
I wear a tracker, it's called a Fitbit. There are many different ones. They're digital, they work off satellite system. And so every step I take, it calculates. I just put up the miles there. Today, because it's Sabbath and I was driving all morning, I'm only at 2.8 miles. I don't even feel like I walked today. I've only had 21 active minutes. I've burned 1,450 calories today. I've walked already 6,716 steps. Because when I stopped at all those rest areas or stations on my way here, I parked at the furthest place out and I walked in. Because I knew I wasn't going to get the exercise today I normally get. But I walk a lot. I'm not saying you have to walk that much, but I'm wanting to get this other 19 pounds off of me. So in order to get this 19 pounds off of me, and I want to do it by October 1st. I've set a goal for myself. Yes.
What do I get, the Fitbit?
Sam's Club, Walmart, all kind of places.
You
can go online and you can get real expensive ones.
Nice.
Mine's wore plumb out. I've got to get me a new band. But I absolutely love it because, you know, it's not the same as going in and getting on the scales and weighing yourself. It's keeping you accountable.
That's what I'm saying.
It's keeping you accountable. If I go to bed at night, my goal is 10,000 every day on a bad day. On a bad
What
day.
is it called? A fit? A what?
Fitbit. F-I-T-B-I-T. And I absolutely, I wouldn't take for this. And actually, my son bought it for me for Christmas. And the 1 week, 5 weeks ago that I only had 20 miles that week, that was the worst week I've had in 3 months. And I think I was flying, I was driving, I wasn't out as active as I was. But at night now, if it was a bad day and I didn't get all my steps, and it said I had 2,000 steps to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out if I have to walk around the yard. If I have to walk up and down my hallway, but I'm going to get those 10,000 steps in. And what that does is that starts to make you accountable. And that's, the Heart Association recommends that you get minimum 10,000 steps a day.
So those that you were reading off, Vanessa was reading off is miles.
Miles.
Okay.
Miles.
It'll take about 10,000 steps to make a mile.
10,000 steps is about 3 miles, a little over, I think, is what it is.
Okay.
And my minimum steps a day is probably around 7 miles a day, is what I try to do.
Okay.
And I keep it calculated, because in a month's time, folks, in a month's time, I have almost walked from South Bend, Indiana to here. It was 238 miles from South Bend to here. So who's the math guy? Now I still got 1 more day. And I've already walked 59.55 miles. 55, so figure that's 104 miles. 56 and 46, 7, 8, 9.2. That's 211 miles, is it, I think? 211 miles in a month. And I'm not saying that I am, folks, when I started, let me explain something to you. When I took my husband to that seminar, I didn't take me. I purposely took my ex-husband to that seminar because I was doing everything I could to try to help him to be healthy. He wouldn't listen to me. He wouldn't follow any of the advice that he got from the people that were facilitating the event. He ate the food, he said it was good, but he likes his cheeseburger, likes the hamburger. I don't want to give this up, I really like it. And he was on 7 medications. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You'll choose to take this medication, but you won't choose to eat healthy? And I'll never forget one time when he said, you know, Melody, not everybody's you. And I said, I hope not. But I said, you're my husband and I want what's best for you. And he said, I just think it's a little extreme. And I said, and you don't think running a tube up your groin, going in and doing angioplasty, putting stents in your heart, and probably beyond that, you're going to have open heart surgery. So they're going to take a saw, cut into your chest, rip your chest cage open, strip the veins out of your legs, and put them in your chest. You don't think that's extreme? And he said, well, he said, I'll stop before I get to that. I'll stop before I get to that point. Do you really think he will? He is 65. He's overweight. I haven't seen him in a couple years, but at a glance. And I can only imagine his health. I can only imagine, you know, and unfortunately, sometimes we choose to have, for some of us, that's more of a quality of life for us than actually having a quality of life being healthy. I used to take medication. I know what it was like. Yes, sir.
It was announced in the church that 12:3 tomorrow, at 2 to 4. Which one is it?
I thought it was 2 to 4.
2 to 4, that's what's going to be at 2 to 4.
I thought it was 2 to 4. I don't know what time it is. Can't believe behind there. 4:16. But it wasn't easy for me either, folks. Even being a chef, when I went from a vegetarian diet to a plant-based diet, what do you think I did?
Vegetarian.
I went to a high-fat vegan diet. Potato chips are vegan.
Yeah.
French fries are vegan. I think even Oreo cookies are vegan.
Gravy.
I mean, I ate everything. I made vegan biscuits and gravy, you name it. Now, I lost a little bit of weight, but honestly, folks, there is not a person in this room that was as large as I was. When you think about wearing a size 26, and I'm only 5'4". So I was quite a large lady. And I forget what sister I was talking to today. I have had no surgery at all. And most of the time, I mean, yeah, my arms are wobbly. But most of the time, to lose that much weight at my age, I should be all kind of flab all over. But I did it the right way. I ate the food God intended for us to eat, and I walked. Outside of walking, I mean, just normal activity. I don't remember doing any other kind of exercise, maybe periodically going swimming like most people would with their family or something. Because where I lived in Ohio, I lived in Apple Valley, which is a lake development. So we had boats, and so we'd go out on the water, and kids would ski and stuff like that. But honestly, my 100% of my activity mostly was walking. And I tried jogging down in Florida when I went down to cook for 3 ABN's camp meeting, and I hurt my knee, and I'm still nursing this hurt knee. So I'm rubbing herbs on my knee. Oils, actually, is what I'm using. I'm using peppermint oil. I'm using lemongrass. And you'd be surprised at the natural things that can help us instead of me going in and have, what good would surgery do? It just needs to heal, and I just won't stay off my legs long enough to let it. I mean, most people don't walk 50 miles in a week, and there's nothing wrong with their knee, and I've got a hurt knee, and I'm walking on my knee that much. So, you know, it's a choice. But I'm done. I want this weight off. I'm finished with it. So I'm doing as much as I can to do that. When I quit Verizon, I went to work for a cardiologist because I felt like God was leading me into this job of teaching people, helping people. Because one thing I was good at was cooking. And I had done away with cooking for years because I worked out in the corporate world. Most of my cooking was catering, weddings and special events is what I did the most. And like I said, I've always been really good about putting ingredients together, so if somebody had an allergy, I knew how to compensate food for that. However, I'd never done vegan cooking in my life. So I'd never cooked without eggs, without cheese, without milk, without butter, margarine, cottage cheese. I love Michigan's best cottage cheese. And I think there was something called a My Barber's, I think buttermilk. I love that stuff. So I had never cooked without these kind of ingredients. So it was almost like me learning how to cook from scratch from somebody who'd never cooked before. But the most powerful thing I did was I knelt down in my kitchen and I said, Lord, you taught me how to cook once, you teach me how to cook again. And he did. He did. However, I was just eating everything fat. So I probably lost about 10, 12 pounds, and that was it. It wasn't until I quit Verizon, I went to work for the cardiologist, and during this time I was going to UG Pines, I was going to Andrews. Anytime there was any kind of seminars on home remedies, natural remedies, health, weight loss, anything that was natural, I would sign up for it and I would go. Because I was like, at that time I'd become a sponge. I just could not get enough in my brain. I needed learning, education. I wanted to know why. I'm one of these people that you could say, I have a camera, it's digital. Oh really, what does digital mean? Well, how does that work? I've got to know how things work. So I wanted to know, okay, if I'm not supposed to take medication and I'm supposed to be healthy, then what do I need? What makes us healthy? So I was learning. And I went to work for this doctor thinking, oh, I'm going to learn everything I need to know about health at a cardiologist. Do you think I did? No. Folks, I've never seen anything more pathetic in my life. To watch people come in carrying shoe boxes full of medication for something as simple as a lifestyle disease. And they're having cabbages, which are coronary bypass surgeries. They're having the stents. They're having all these heart procedures for something that nutrition can fix. And they start taking a medicine, another medicine, and another medicine. And don't kid yourself. If you're gonna start one medication, and my
Yes.
mom,
Yeah.
she started with one high blood pressure medication, now she's on 3. And she'll say, I don't have high blood pressure anymore. And I'm like, you don't? Why are you taking them pills? Well, that's why I don't have high blood pressure. And I said, yes, you do. You have hypertension. You'll refuse to eat healthy. And she's doing much better. She's changed a lot because she don't want to take any more medicine. And they already told her she needed another medication. And when that brother of mine that died at 55, this was his medication.
Oh, you got it.
And none of them are redundant. These are all different drugs. And you know how old it is. I've been carrying this thing around since he passed away. And he had congestive heart failure and type 2 diabetes. Both of them are lifestyle diseases.
And he was taking that every day?
Every day of his life. And if you can, you're more than welcome to look on here. Some of them are 2 or 3 times a day. And folks, he had diarrhea so bad, he set up, my mother, he moved in with my mom. He had a chair that he set up by the bathroom because he couldn't get out of the bed and get to the bathroom fast enough for this medication. And they were going to remove his legs. What is that, neuropathy? He had problems with his feet, and they were going to start at his feet. And I said, if you let them take your feet, they're not going to stop.
Right, that's right, that's right, if they get told, they get started.
And so I had, when I was at Uchee Pines, there was a man there who was an herbalist, and he had this healing salve, and I bought some of it, and my brother went to the doctor. They had scheduled him to remove one of his feet. He started, because diabetics, if they get a sore, it gets infected, they can get gangrene, okay?
That's right.
Within 3 days, the sore was gone. And I said, you mean to tell me, Monty, that you would sit and let somebody cut your foot off? And you didn't try? I said, are you kidding? Because once that foot is gone, it's not coming back. You don't understand. You're in a wheelchair. You're dependent. And twice they were going to do that. Again, he went back to the salve. I was just learning that, so I didn't know a whole lot about it. And I cannot remember a day in my brother's life that he wasn't walking around with a Dr. Pepper in his back pocket. He loved sugar. And he loved high fats. And that's the unfortunate thing. But to die so young, it's just like, and to be honest with you folks, had I not changed my diet and my lifestyle, I believe I would have already been deceased now. Because I was on heart medication, had been on it for 22 years. 22 years I took a beta blocker. And then here I was, they were telling me, you're going to have to start taking insulin, you know, you're getting diabetes, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I'd be standing here talking to you, and I'd get really lightheaded, and I'd almost faint. And I didn't even know what it was. And I had to go to the emergency room one night because my high blood pressure was so bad that I had to go to the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack. And then the doctor there in the ER said, go see a cardiologist. Well, I was working for 5. And I went to work the next morning, and there sat 2 medications on my desk. And my boss, my doctor, come out and he said, Melody, if you don't take these, he said, you're going to die. And I said, well, you know, I'm learning more and more that our blood pressure should be the same at 80 as it is at 8 years old. Unfortunately, we have children, even at the age of 5 and 6, that have hypertension due to their diets.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be. And so I just said, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks and let me see what I can do. I said, I'm learning more. And he said, well, it's very dangerous. I said, I promise I'll keep an eye on it. Give me 2 weeks. And I left the office that day, and I called Dr. Philip Collins from out of North Carolina. Great Seventh-day Adventist doctor. He is more of a naturopathic now. He was already internist, I think. And he went into more of a natural way of eating and health. Very phenomenal, very good, talented man. And I called him because I got his information when I was at Andrews. And I mean, I put out an SOS message. I mean, I'm like, oh, Dr. Collins, this is Melody Prettyman. I'm at Juvenile Andrews, and I'm having problems. My blood pressure's really high, and I don't know what to do. They want me to start taking all this medication. I don't want to take it, and I'm a vegan. Like that made a difference. But I think in my mind, I wanted him to think it wasn't due to anything I was doing. What is that blindness called? What is it called? Denial. Pure denial. Just like when I was 265 pounds and looked in the mirror and said, I'm not that bad. Oh, I was awful. So he answered my call. It was kind of funny because he has that real southern slow drawl. Hi, Melody, what can I do for you? I told him, and he said, well, send me over all your lab work. I did. Come Friday morning, I had to start when he told me to do. And I asked him, what do you want me to do? He said, well, I want you to give me 2 weeks. And I said, good. That's what I gave my doctor, 2 weeks. He said, if you'll do what I tell you in 2 weeks, he said, we'll get this blood pressure. I said, okay. He said, if you even give it me longer, I'll take you off that heart medication. I said, that's impossible. I've been on it for 22 years. He said, no, Melody, if you don't get rid of it, he said, your blood pressure's going to be too low. Your heart rate will be too slow. You'll have to give it up. I said, well, I'm going to trust you. Let's do the 2 weeks. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? And he said, I need you to eliminate all oil from your diet. Write this down. Oil, folks. It doesn't matter whether it's sunflower oil, if it's avocado oil. It doesn't matter whether it's olive oil. Oil is oil is oil. It's 100% fat. It takes either 16 or 18 ears of corn to make 1 tablespoon of corn oil. It takes $36 to make a tablespoon of olive oil. And I don't know how much for coconut oil, but we hold on to these oils like they're our family. And they're killing us.
Coconut oil, it's got so many things that's good for you.
You said oil is oil.
Oh, I heard you say that. I mean, I did.
Oil is wonderful for your skin. It's great for your skin.
She said coffee was good for an enema.
It is.
Great.
Go on it. Yeah. But honestly, folks, it's oil because you have to take this food in its natural state and you've got to press and process this oil out of your food. And then all the fiber, the fruit, the carbohydrates, complex, which are good carbohydrates, are left behind and all you have is 100% fat.
Right.
Okay? So what we're doing here is we're just replacing all this wonderful fruit. So can you eat 16 ears of corn in one setting?
No.
Probably not. I hope not. Yes.
So then the foods that actually produce oil, we should leave out too? Because I'm looking at cheese, like,
Cheese is not a food.
That's a dairy, right?
It's there.
I want you to think, before I'm done with you tomorrow, I want you to go to bed at night, I want you to pray, and I want you to remember, cheese is not a food. It's a product from an animal.
Right.
And it's nothing but pure poison to your body. But no, sister, avocados are fabulous. And
Okay.
it's an essential fat.
Right.
Coconut is wonderful, and it's an essential fat.
Coconut is good?
Coconut is good.
Great.
But I like to go get the coconut, and I'm a wimp. I just throw it on the ground. And I pick it up and start digging out of it.
Yeah.
And I eat raw coconut, and I like dried coconut. But I don't use coconut oil except for on my body.
Okay.
When you said that cheese was not a food, now, the standard American diet, our government tells us that we need the cheese.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that, sister? For 1 minute, do you believe that your government wasn't paid off by the Dairy Association to say that? Do you really believe, huh? Huh? No.
Milk does the body good.
Milk does not do the body good. And they get paid millions of dollars. And they put a lot of money into the government and the lobbyists, and they give them all this money so they can keep you as sick as you can, because then you're going to spend all your money at the doctor's office, you're going to buy all these drugs, and you're going to provide all that wealth to the insurance companies. Seriously. Yes, ma'am.
We'll make up in a second, I don't want to know some go ahead.
Right. I don't mind, I'm not here to hurt your feelings, but I don't mind stepping on your toes because I'm telling you the truth. Okay? And I'm not going to apologize for it. But I love you, and I do this out of love because I'd rather be home in my own bed every night, and I would love to be with my family every day. But you know what? I have a job to do, and I'm telling you the truth. And I don't want you to believe what I say. I want you to go home and research everything I'm telling you for yourself. Yes.
In place of the oil, what do we substitute? Put there instead of oil, because it makes the food taste good.
Earth balance is good.
Earth balance is one molecule from plastic.
That's
right.
Just like Marty, drinking fat.
It's still margarine.
Yeah.
And if you leave it outside, the flies will not even bite.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the truth. Where did margarine come from?
Well, what do we use in place of that?
Okay, use it in place of what? Tell me what you want to use it for. What do
I
you
like
usually?
to put it on my grits, and I like to put it on
Honey,
my
what's wrong with your grits without it?
They don't taste good.
Exactly, your
Because your
taste
taste
buds
is
are
perverted.
I'm sorry.
It tastes better with the butter.
What about
Right.
your vegetables
With the,
and cooking? I mean, you gotta use, I don't like bland food.
Because your taste buds
I'm
are
perverted.
Sister, I'm telling you,
Using the right greens about.
it is not easy. It takes you 2 weeks to change your taste buds. And that's why the doctor gave me 2 weeks. And I said, what can I eat, doctor? He said, I want you to eat fruits. Any kind you want. I don't want you eating dried fruits because they are such high concentration of sugar. Remember, I had to get my blood pressure down. It was serious. He said, no sugar in your diet, just fresh fruit. I don't care what kind you eat.
There's sugar in there, isn't it?
But
There's
it's
fruit.
fructose.
No, it's not fructose. It's fruit. Fructose is a dry sugar.
But it runs my blood sugar up to the moon.
It will.
I'm a diabetic.
Honey, it does right now because the diet that you're on, the American diet for diabetes, is not the right diet.
I'm not on the American diet for diabetes.
Do you eat any desserts? Do you eat other foods like that?
Every now and then, but I eat more vegetarian and vegan. And I eat very little of that vegan veggie meat. Every now and then, I might have a griller or a boca burger or something like that. I don't eat it every. Some people have stripples every day.
My mom.
Some people use some kind of veggie meat every
Let me
day.
finish and I'll tell you. Okay. He said all the fruit, any fruit I wanted. He said any vegetable you want, Melody, whether it's cooked or it's raw. He said legumes. It doesn't matter what variety of bean you want, eat beans. He said all whole grains. Now, I hope when you're eating grits, you're not eating instant. I hope
Yellow.
you're eating a
Yellow
whole
grits.
polenta.
Yellow.
Okay?
Yellow.
Well, there can be white polenta that's good. Corn can be white, but normally it's yellow. But we're talking about a whole grain. And he said you can eat tubers, which are your potatoes. Now remember, I was fixing to have to take insulin. Okay?
Yeah, right.
All right? I said I'm Irish, folks. Oh, let me tell you what. I live eating breathe potatoes. I can eat them 3 times a day, and then for dessert. I love my potatoes. And so I thought, yes. And then he said, Melody, eat avocado for your fat. And I'm thinking, I just won the food lottery. Yes. And I said, okay, how much can I eat? Folks, I've been on every diet out there. Weight Watchers, you name it. I've been on it. And most diets are, you do away and you do without to get results, right?
Yeah.
He said, Melody, don't worry about weighing your food. Don't worry about measuring your food. It's going to taste so bad you'll never overeat. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, I'm a chef. I can make anything taste good. No, I couldn't. Because unless you have eaten food strictly with absolutely no salt, because he said eliminate all my salt. He said eliminate all my oil, eliminate all my sugar. All, not a little. Remember, I had a serious problem. He said 2 weeks. And that first meal I made famous Advent's haystacks.
Okay.
And I cut up I put cucumbers on there, I had beans, I had rice, I had tomatoes, I had onions, I made salsa. I made it all, and I sat down to eat this wonderful food, and I thought, oh God, this is awful. I can't eat this. It tastes like garbage. Oh, really? I can lie. I thought, I pushed my plate away, and you know, as soon as I did it, that God brought on me, because I always used to say, those sniveling bunch of Israelites, they had manna, angel foods, and they wanted the flesh pots of Egypt. So God kind of brought back what I said myself, and I said, okay, I get it, God. I'm going to eat it. Folks, when we sit down at the table and we start sniveling and we start complaining over the food that God created for us to eat in the garden, don't you think maybe there's a problem?
Whoa.
And I said, okay, Lord, I promise you I'm not complaining again. Friday, I ate the food. Saturday, I ate the food. Sunday, my blood pressure was normal.
Okay.
3 days.
Amen.
Nothing processed. I'm not talking about you cooking it. I make cheese sauce now, folks, out of brown rice instead of using cashews. I can use potato in there too. You do not have to use all these fats and stuff, except you don't get the salt in it, but I put a lot of lemon juice in it, and it makes that kind of same effect by using a lot of lemon juice. And I got used to it. Actually, 2 weeks later, I accused my oldest son, who came over to eat dinner with me, of putting salt in my food. I said, did you salt my food? It tastes good. He said, Mom, I didn't touch it. I'm like, something's wrong. And folks, I started walking. And I took that old fat golden retriever with me. He'd already had 2 knees replaced. At the $2,000 to $3,000.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the dog. $3,000 for his 2 knees. And so I thought, mister, if I'm going to lose weight, you're going to lose it too. So I got his leash on him and went up the road. And I'm not kidding you. My first walk was a block up the road and a block back. And I specifically went to the left because the right was down a hill. And I knew I wasn't going to get back up that hill. And I come back home. I sat down and I thought, Lord, I might as well die and eat because the exercise is going to kill me. But I just kept walking. I'm persistent. I thought, I can do this. This is what God wants me to do. And I've had people saying, oh, I'm not worried about it too much here because when God comes to take me home, He'll change me in the transfiguration. Are we going to make it to the transfiguration if we can't give up something as simple as oil or salt or sugar? Are you kidding? I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. Folks, it wasn't no time. I had to leave that dog behind. He couldn't take it anymore. And I was walking up and down them hills like it was nothing. And my daughter-in-law's a triathlon. She does triathlons. And she said, come on, walk this. I'm going to do the whole. If you'll walk, I'll walk half of the marathon, and then I'll jog the other. And so I went and did my first half marathon in Columbus, Ohio, and did 13-point-something miles. And that wasn't maybe 6 months later, and I was still fat. Because you get used to it. But that weight started coming off. And then I started this just before Thanksgiving. So during Christmas and Thanksgiving, I ate no holiday food. And the first week in January, my medication was gone. Medication free.
Heart medication too?
Yeah,
Yeah, heart medication.
nothing. I take nothing. I haven't taken it since then. I haven't taken a pill since then.
how long has that been now?
Over 4 years. Over 4 years. Folks, it's amazing. I cannot tell you. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing. Nothing you hold on to. Nothing you hold on to. You have no idea. You just don't know how bad you feel. I mean, I have my sons, my 38 and 42. We get out and we go shopping, and they're like, Mom, can you just sit down for like a minute? I wear them out because now my body's used to this. I go to bed at night, and outside this knee that I hurt when I was jogging, I mean, come on, 60 years old, and I jogged a mile. Crazy. And I knew I was hurting when I was doing it because I kept feeling, thinking, oh, this is too much. No, I'm going to do this. And I kept going. And then I injured it. But you know, I can go to the doctor and I can get shots in it. I can have surgery done. But why am I going to do that? I'm not going to do that. I know God will take care of this knee for me. It's much better, too.
2 things. Have you seen that movie,
Forks over knives?
Knives?
The same diet.
Yes, and that
Same
lady
diet.
got off all the medication and healed
Same
her
diet.
body.
No sugar, no salt.
Right.
Very minimal salt, I should say. Minimal salt, no oil, as unprocessed as possible, nothing from an animal, it didn't have a mother, it didn't have a face. Same thing. And the funny thing about it, I've been on seminars with Dr. Bernard. He does a lot in Columbus, Ohio, because Pamela Popper, the doctor that was in the movie, she practices in Columbus, and she's part of the PCRM, which is the acronym for the company he started, which, you know, Dr. Neil Bernard is opening up a plant-based nutrition hospital in Washington, D.C. to treat patients with nutrition instead of drugs. That should be something.
Yes.
Should be us. We have qualified, we have some of the best doctors in the world. It should be us. It breaks my heart. What can you do? But, I mean, if you change and you adhere to this same time, and it's extreme, folks. For some of you, it's going to be very extreme. But you've got a group of people here together and you can do this. And I'll tell you what, next time I see you, which I hope I do, if I don't see you here, I'll see you there.
Amen.
I won't recognize you. Hopefully you won't recognize me. Seriously. You know, it's I can't even tell you how good it feels. I don't miss it. I do not miss the food. I don't miss the sugar. I don't miss the desserts. I don't need the desserts.
You don't eat no salt at all?
I don't salt my food. There is salt in celery. Celery is a high sodium food. So now, don't worry. I'm gonna have you some.
You
food
don't
tomorrow.
add salt.
Huh?
You don't add salt.
No, I don't add salt, but your food does. I don't cook with it.
No.
But I'm going to use it for y'all tomorrow because I know you're not used to it. But I love pepper.
Black pepper?
I like, well, white, it doesn't matter if it's white or black, it's still pepper.
But we're not supposed to use it.
We're not, it's supposed to be bad on your stomach. I didn't say I hate it, I just told you I loved it. Didn't I?
Yes.
I said I love pepper. Yeah. People talk about vinegar, you know, sometimes we take our white a little bit out of context. You know, she tells us that we shouldn't mix fruits and vegetables if our stomachs are in a feverish condition.
Yeah.
Most of them are. I mean, I don't have any problem with it. But, and I don't mind apple cider vinegar. I have great benefits for apple cider vinegar. Most of what I use, 99% is lemon. What, ma'am?
You have to tell, you gotta explain that.
Vinegar, the science behind vinegar right now, organic apple cider vinegar. It's phenomenal. Brags. It is phenomenal.
It's distilled vinegar, it's the best.
Yeah, I use it on my hair.
She said she used it for, right, but do you use it for your food?
Rarely.
For your what?
Rarely I use it for my food. I have no problem with it, but I use lemons. I think lemons are the healthiest. Yeah, Paws has it. You can make your own pickles. But seriously, I love lemons, but I use vinegar for disinfecting. And some of the recipes you'll see that. But
What do you mean, this one, you have to do it for your body?
huh?
That's it, you said it for your body.
I use it for my hair instead of conditioner.
Okay, right, so it's outside, okay, that's
Internal.
But will I eat food that has vinegar in it? Sure, I'd rather have vinegar in my food than oil. I'd rather have vinegar as salt. I'd rather have vinegar as sugar. I just choose to use lemon juice, pure lemon, and I don't buy the stuff that's in the jar. I buy lemons because I think it's healthier for me.
What about limes?
I love limes. Same thing. Same thing. Yeah, lemons and limes are both antioxidants.
What you put on your bread?
What do I put on my grits? Well, what I eat a cheesy sauce sometimes. I make it out of rice and potato, and I will put the cheesy sauce and mix it in with my grits, and I'll put a little lemon juice over the top of that. But I've gotten used to eating it without it.
So you use the yeast flakes for cheese?
I love nutritional yeast flakes, and there are B12, and I sprinkle nutritional yeast flakes on them. But I just don't use salt and butter on them anymore. I used to.
Not even not even the healthy salts. I think
Kosher.
kosher salts, yeah. Sea salt, not even those.
The best salt out there. Do you know how, I think it was my mom that used to say, whenever she'd tell me not to do something when I was little, I said, well, can I do this or can I do that? We're always looking for an excuse to hold on to something. But there are 2 salts out there that if you ate them, and let me recommend this, and especially if you're already pretty healthy, if you're not taking all the medication, and especially if you're not having heart trouble and you don't have high blood pressure. I would take a half a teaspoon of either real salt, do you know what real salt,
Yeah.
R-E-A-L?
Yeah.
And it looks dirty.
Yeah.
That's because it has the minerals in there, and we're made up of minerals, and the minerals of the earth is what we need. So when we eat some of this no good salt out there from the store, actually everything's stripped out of it, it's just high sodium, and that's why it bothers us more.
Right.
Which the minerals help to distribute the sodium in our body better. So I would either use that or Himalayan,
Right.
the pink salt.
Yeah, the pink salt, yes.
Those 2 salts.
Yes.
But we're talking a half a teaspoon.
Right.
And what I want you to do, this is a little homework, I want you to take your first meal and take that half a teaspoon of salt, put it on your table, and that's your all of your salt for 24 hours.
Yep.
And you know who Dr. Neil Nedley is.
Yes.
And he claims no more, we should never have more than a half a teaspoon of salt in it.
Wow.
And I ate something, it was a really good vegan, plant-based, really wasn't processed hot dog the other day. Wasn't real meat, it wasn't even gluten. It was amazing, made out of rice and some soy. It was good. I didn't ask and I didn't look. It had 600 milligrams of salt for one dog. And it wasn't no time I'm thinking,
Oh, no.
gosh, I feel like my blood pressure's going up or something.
600 milligrams. I thought we could withstand like 3,000 milligrams a day. Over that would be too much. That's my understanding.
No,
No.
no.
So what is the limit for sodium per day?
A half a teaspoon. And I think a half a
So how many
teaspoon,
milligrams?
I think it's 1,000,
What?
isn't it? I'll have to look. Somebody go, do you have anybody have a smartphone in here? What's a half a teaspoon? What's the milligrams of sodium in a half a teaspoon? But it's very little. It's very, very little. And that's if you're not eating anything packaged or processed.
Right, it's sodium in it.
I'm talking about you're making your food from scratch. But if you possibly can, folks, less is best. Because your celery is high in sodium, your spinach is high in sodium, and if you look at the nutrition facts on your fresh vegetables and even fruits, there's already sodium in it.
Asparagus has it too.
Asparagus too. And I love asparagus. Asparagus helps with skin problems, like they say eat 3 to 5 raw, even asparagus a day will get rid of our sunspots and freckles.
You got Google.
2,300 for a teaspoon of salt. It's a
Right.
half a teaspoon, so that's about 1,100 and something, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay,
So half a teaspoon.
half a teaspoon. No, most Americans are getting between 3,000 and 5,000 milligrams of sodium a day. We wonder why we have so much high blood
Because
pressure.
they, like you said, processed and it's got X amount of milligrams of sodium in it.
Sure.
You know, especially if they're using that.
Look at
frozen
Hamburger
stuff
Helper.
that's
Look at Hamburger
microwave
Helper.
stuff, full of sodium.
Look at Hamburger Helper, and a lot of people
Oh,
use
no.
their what is it? Can you remember the name of it? Veggie burger. Now, veggie burger's high in sodium too. So you put your high sodium veggie burger in with your oil, in with your processed Hamburger Helper that has anywhere between 16 to 2,500 milligrams of sodium in a half cup serving. I do a class where I actually take people and go into a supermarket and we look at labels and read them, and people are shocked because they don't read labels. That's why it's so important that you don't process it yourself. But what is that old saying? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. It works. I'm not the only person. I didn't do anything that was special. I just eliminated all these foods that are unhealthy for us, that are unprocessed, And I went to a whole plant-based diet, and I got rid of the heart disease, and I got rid of the diabetes, and I got rid of the weight. And I gained my health. Yes.
Okay, I agree and say this, because I'm supposed to be helping people successful.
Amen.
Okay, I can go a lot. You were talking about getting rid of something. What about, I'm putting myself on, I'm self-diagnosed, severe arthritis and stuff to the point where I can no longer bend or use my limbs or, that kind of stuff. And the pain is like all over the body now. So it changing to that diet that you're talking about, is that gonna help?
Absolutely.
The bones are already deteriorating.
Absolutely.
You already have.
Do you know what causes the deterioration in the bones, folks? We get too much calcium in our bodies because we eat from animals. We weren't meant to eat from animals. We'll have this tomorrow. We're herbivores. And when we eat from animals, our bodies become acidic. But what happens to us is there's so much calcium going into our bones that it actually leaches the calcium out of our bones. Because in the countries where they do not eat after animals, they don't have arthritis, they don't have osteoporosis, they don't have anything.
But I'm vegan. I'll say vegetarian. I won't say vegan. I'll say vegetarian for 30 years.
That's exactly. You said vegetarian, not vegan. You're eating from animal products, or you have.
I have for 30 years.
And that's what you think.
But you're not vegan, so you are eating animal products.
You can eat none.
There's a lot of different. There are some different factors, folks, honestly. But if you have you guys showed the forks over knives here at your church?
No.
You ought to do that, show it, and all of you should watch that. I highly recommend it. And they talk a lot about arthritis and osteoporosis. My daughter-in-law works for a drug company. It's so funny, you ought to see her and I in a room together. But she's rich. Drug company pays her $500,000 a year to go around and handle all these drugs. Remicade for arthritis. Remicade. It's one of the most expensive. It's thousands of dollars for a vial to have Remicade. Like, I forget, this lady here was talking today how much her medication is going to be. Yeah. Same thing. It's extremely expensive. It's like, how can people afford to do this? Well, the insurance companies are very wealthy because they make so much money off of us. Let's face it, it's just a big game. But so when her and I get into a room and she's like, well, I don't agree with you on arthritis, and I say, you don't have to agree with me. It's not my philosophy. It's scientific evidence. I'm not a doctor. I did not discover this. I'm repeating what they're saying. They have the research. I don't. And I have known people who went to a plant-based diet who had a lot of problems with arthritis, and it was much better for them. Did it completely get rid of it? Maybe not everybody's. Probably most of them no, because it hit the breast too much. I don't know. So you might still have to take medication or whatever, huh? You don't take any? Well, that's a good thing. You're not deteriorating your bones worse, and you're not hurting your liver, so that's a good thing. But any more questions? I don't know how to get this on, brother. Okay.
I have a question about soy, about tofu.
Yes, ma'am. You talking about the isoflavins? Are you talking about the GMO? Or are you talking about the lies that are out there saying that if men eat tofu, soy products, there's impotence and other problems?
The female hormones.
I'd love to see the research on that, because everybody I've talked to, even some of these famous doctors that I've been in seminars, say, where is the research for this? Dr. Agatha Thrash, when she has her patients come in that's had breast cancer, she prescribes more tofu for them. But now I do believe in non-GMO. Because I think 99% of the problems we're having today with brain systems because of genetic modification. Yeah, and I wonder, folks, as Adventist Christians, we know what's going to happen to the end of time. You know, Ellen White talks about us growing our own gardens and having our own food. I wonder if the government wants us so dependent on them that our food we can't keep the seeds and keep growing and growing. We have to constantly keep buying from the government, these food companies. eat a ton of it. When I was sick, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto disease. Does anybody know what that is? It's an immune thyroid disease.
You're like Graves.
I have Hashimoto and I have celiac disease. Both are autoimmune diseases, which with my high intake of fats and dairy, I'm sure the autoimmune, when my body broke down, that's what happened. Normally when you get one, you have 2 autoimmune diseases, so I have 2. And I'm supposed to take medication for my thyroid because it makes you really tired. You're not supposed to get up out of bed. I take nothing. I take nothing. And I handle it. I strictly handle it. Huh? Yeah, wheat, barley, and rye. Yeah.
Celiac disease.
Yes, and I believe also, remember I told you in the beginning that I bought hundreds of dollars worth of Worthington foods that we ate all the time? I'm sure with all those gluten and those processed products, it probably didn't help it any. Because they said when they did a study on celiac disease in the last few years, more Seventh-day Adventists suffer with it than most people that are not Seventh-day Adventists, and we eat a lot of gluten products. So that could be it. Wrong one. Huh, that's tomorrow.
You mentioned something about, Pott's disease, what is that? Pott's syndrome.
POTS, my son's diagnosed with it. And what it is, POTS disease is an autonomic disorder. And I do not see my start on this thing. Oh, wait. Yeah. I'm used to a different, my other computer crashed, so I'm on a Vista, and I don't like Vista, I've never used it go. But what happened to my son is he had an infected tooth that he didn't know he had, didn't even hurt. But he started one day to feel something was kind of tender, and it felt bad, so he called the dentist, and it was a tooth when he was a young boy. He was skateboarding over at a birthday party with some friends, and a water hose was out, and he fell over. The skateboard went one backwards, and he went forward and knocked out his front tooth. So we had to put an artificial tooth in there, capped over. And they said, keep a check on that, it should last until he's 16. Well, he was 36, and he noticed, he felt like maybe it might have loosened up. He'd been to the dentist before, but they said, hey, it's still tight, don't worry about it. When he went in, the dentist said, oh my, something's not right. And when he pulled the tooth, he said pus came out. Ooh. Well, it damaged the vagus nerve. And what happened now, they put a fake tooth back in and put him on high doses of antibiotics. And it compromised the nerves that work in conjunction with the heart. And he was having anywhere between 10 and 15,000 PVCs a day. His heart was just sporadic all day, all night, couldn't sleep, couldn't rest, scared him to death. I said, well, he called me, he said, Mom, I need you to come and help me. Could you fly back? And I said, sure. It was a little rough because I didn't work the month of November. No, I didn't work the month of October. No, the very first month of November, because usually I shut down about mid-November. I didn't work the month of January, and I didn't work the month of March, April, May, and June, and almost to mid-July. Because I literally moved in with them and helped them, stay there. And he went from 240 pounds down to 180. His wife was pregnant with her first child. And Megan is overweight, not obese, but overweight. And when she delivered 9 months later, she was 10 pounds lighter than she was the day she went in to find out she was pregnant. 10 pounds lighter. 10 pounds lighter because I was living with them, cooking everything they ate. Took my son off a week because I thought maybe there's something going on here too because he was having some other symptoms. And today he's probably 95% better. But it took me about 5 months. He didn't want to take heart medication. There was nothing wrong with his heart, but the nervous system that works with the heart. But it is a POTS. I don't know what, it's an acronym. So POTS syndrome is an autonomic disorder. And so it's a rough one. I mean, we went to Myrtle Beach on vacation, and the day he was doing really good. He had 2 really good weeks. He thought everything was in the clear. 3 o'clock in the morning, he walks in my bedroom. He said, "Mom, I don't want to bother Megan, but I got to go to the emergency room." So I rushed him with him to the emergency room. And there's nothing they can do for you, but your heart feels like it's just going to come out of your chest. And I just think lots of prayer. But out of that, my son said to me, sitting in the dining room one day, he said, "Mom, this food is just so delicious. I cannot believe it." He said, "I wish I would have listened to you 4 years ago. Have mercy." And I said, "It's okay, you're listening now. It's okay." I said, I'm not here to prove anything. I'm just proud of you for what you're doing now." And he's still staying on a good, healthy plant-based diet, and so is his wife. And he said, "I'm not going to let my son have this kind of garbage on." He said, when we can eat your good burgers, and I made, when I was there, I kept their freezer full. During the day, I'd make pancakes, maybe 50 of them at a time, put them in the freezer. I would make waffles, I'd make burgers, I'd make meatballs, I'd put all this stuff, just make them just where they could come in and just grab what they wanted to eat if they were in a hurry. So, you know, I'm just so thankful I was able to do that. That's the only reason why I'm here. Because normally I am booked up solid, but I was so late out working because I was helping my son out for 6 months that I didn't get out to do seminars. Did you have a question? No.
Oh, no.
Was there any more questions? What we're going to learn about, we're not going to learn about the health part of it so much today. That's going to be tomorrow. Today we're talking about prescription medication versus natural remedies. And for some reason, let me see if I turned off here.
It's not working?
No, but I had to restart it. It was the wrong PowerPoint. Oh. Okay.
I think it was left on. I turned it off for you.
All right, that's okay. I've got blonde roots. Prescription drugs are any supplement that contains chemicals or unnatural substances which alter our brain chemistry, hormones, or mentality. Folks, there are some of us that take medication. Please don't misunderstand me. Some of us have to take medication, okay? If I had a disease and I had to take medication for that disease, don't think for a minute I'm not going to take it. It's a difference between lifestyle and a disease you have no control over. There are some prescriptions that work because the drugs involved fool our brain into thinking the opposite of what we are experiencing. What is that called? Euphoria. You know what euphoria means? You know what, when you smoke pot, or you drink alcohol, it's not here yet, is it?
It's on the ballot this fall.
Now, I'm going to say something, you guys are probably going to be, hopefully you're not going to be angry. I'm all for cannabis. Cannabis. Cannabis is marijuana in its natural form. And what it does for people is phenomenal. It cures cancer. I'm not talking about smoking it, and it does not make you high.
The oil.
It is the oil. And if somebody told me I had cancer today, and I had the choice of going into having my insides microwaved and taking all this medicine, I would start cannabis. Do I believe we should smoke pot? Absolutely not. But cannabis, I'm 100% for. If they do medical marijuana, I'm not talking about, now Colorado, you can do both. You can just smoke your brains out, whatever. But I do think cannabis, which is what they call medical marijuana, has wonderful things. Do you know of any child or children that have the seizures? Yeah. Grand mal seizures or, okay, when they take cannabis, they're fine. They're normal children again. So I think that's a wonderful thing, but I'm talking about euphoria being in the state. I think that's the CBT that's in marijuana. TC? THC in the marijuana. And that's what makes us high. And so, the same way with drugs. When you take something like ibuprofen, naproxen, Celebrex, Tylenol, do they really get rid of the pain?
No.
No, the pain exists, you just don't know it. Exactly. Exactly. So you're just basically in a high state, coherent high state. The brain just says, okay, I'm just going to disconnect from that. I'm no longer feeling that pain here, but it exists. One of these drugs up here, which is the Celebrex. Do you remember when they took that off the market?
Yes.
It ain't off.
It's back.
It's still on there.
It's back on the market. They took it off the market because of the death rates
20,000.
and the heart attacks.
I remember when
And-
it first came out.
Do you, here a while back, I love to watch commercials. They're my favorite thing in the world to do. I don't watch the programs, I want to watch all the commercials, especially the drugs. And have you noticed, the only commercials you see for drugs are lifestyle disease commercials? Keep us sick, keep advertising, spend millions of dollars out there because they make billions off these drugs. And I seen Celebrex and I thought, what is that doing on the market? That was killing so many people. I thought they took it off. Here's a picture of a woman riding her bicycle. What's Celebrex for? What's Celebrex for? Arthritis. Okay. Arthritis. She's riding a little bicycle. All these kids are laughing and playing. And she gets off and talks to the people, and they're running and they're jumping. And you're looking at this whole advertisement that lasts for probably 2.5 minutes. And up at the top, there's this ribbon that's flowing through like this of all the side effects.
Yes.
Through the whole commercial. And I'm thinking, is anybody reading this?
It could cause death.
Yes. I'm sitting there
They don't
watching
hear
it.
that.
They don't see it because it's so subtle. What do they call that? Subliminal messaging.
Because you're seeing all the happiness and the
That's
joy.
exactly right. And so you're in pain. She knows what it's like to be in pain with arthritis. And when you see all that happiness and pain-free, your brain says, I want to be that person. I want to be pain-free. Unfortunately, it comes with a lot of side effects.
Yes.
Could some people be at higher risk by taking these medications? Absolutely. When heart attack survivors or those with heart disease take certain pain relievers, it puts them at a higher risk for heart attack or death. And that's according to the Circulation, which is a journal for the American Heart Association. Dr. Agatha Thrash, I trust. Do you know she states that when you take heart medication or high blood pressure medication, anything that affects the heart, that you are at 50% greater risk of having a heart attack if you didn't take it at all. 50%. Look at the side effects. Go out there and look. Some heart medications say could cause stroke, could cause heart attack, could elevate blood pressure. And that's what they want me to take? Why not tell me my diet's causing my blood pressure to be bad? Yes, ma'am.
What about baby aspirin?
Baby aspirins are not as hard at rutting your stomach out so fast where the aspirin is. But it actually just sits and burns in your stomach.
Oh, I thought it's supposed to prevent an oncoming heart attack.
Right there in the blood, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic says that if your cholesterol is 150 or lower, you will never have a heart attack. You are heart attack proof. 150 or lower. Cholesterol level, 150 and lower.
What's the name of the doctor?
Pardon?
What's the name of the doctor?
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn at Cleveland.
What's that?
Esselstyn. Esselstyn. He's from the Cleveland Clinic. He's the one that got all those patients in and did that study for heart disease, and nobody wanted him to do it. They were afraid of him to do that study because they knew that if he did it and it was successful, then their patients were gonna go to him.
He doesn't work there no more, does
They're pretty much on their own now with
Okay.
Forks Over Knives, and they just
That's what I was-
launched the second movie,
Yeah.
Pure Plant Nation.
he? Yeah.
And I don't know if you folks are aware of this, but we have a Seventh-day Adventist doctor in Pure Plant Nation, and it's Dr. James Markham,
Oh.
the cardiologist from Tennessee. And he's the one that I just filmed the program with down in Tennessee, his 3-part series on Heartwise, and then I did the nutrition side of it with him. And he's in this movie, and I'm thinking, praise the Lord. But it should have been our movie, and those other doctors should have been.
Right.
Anyway, death from prescription drug side effects is now the 4th leading cause of death in the United States, according to the medical industry itself. Acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. Tylenol. Many drugs can cause liver damage, liver failure, and death, yet acetaminophen, we'll call it Tylenol, promotes the most calls to the poison control centers, more than 100,000 per year. Each year, Tylenol accounts for about 56,000 emergency room visits, 26,000 hospitalizations, and more than 450 deaths from liver failure. Tylenol causes more cases of acute liver failure than any other medication combined. When I was in one of Dr. Thrash's seminars, she stated she had a colleague from Georgia when she was in Georgia practicing, and his daughter had a fever, and he gave her Tylenol, and she's been in a vegetable state for over 20 years. That's how damaging Tylenol. I gave it to my children. But we'll grab anything quick for pain. Normally when we have a fever, it's our body's defense. Something's going wrong. As a doctor explains, it's like a little ambulance that's running to fix the problem, and the fever has to come up to ward off these diseases. You just have to keep the fever below a certain number so it doesn't affect the brain. Yes, ma'am.
My neighbor has shingles, and she's 80-some years old, and she's got a lot of pain.
Oh, yeah.
And she's going to the doctor, and she's about to take, he didn't give her medication yet, but soon she'll be on medication, and then just one after another because of side effects.
Can you write down, do you have a pen?
Yes.
There is a gentleman, his name is Walt Cross.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Mr. Cross, he owns the mustard seed
Oh, yeah.
in Tennessee.
Oh,
And I called him not long ago. I did a seminar for their church. And he has a regimen that he does that is quite effective on shingles, and also has a cure that they use for MRSA.
Oh, really?
Wow.
My sister had that last.
Oh yeah, that stuff, it's just like antibiotic resistant.
Right.
So, I don't have the answers to everything, but I've been around enough. I know people that might know something to help. But I would definitely get a hold of Walt Cross.
What part of Tennessee? I know he's real good. I've heard him.
I know they go to the Greenville Church. I can't remember. If you will just Google, you might have, you've got a smartphone, Google Walt Cross Mustard Seed Tennessee and see if it doesn't come up with his.
Are you saying CROSS?
Walt Cross. Yes. Yeah, him and his wife, they have just this wonderful little store, and it does amazing in their little community there. And I trust this man as much as I would a doctor. He has great information. He is just a wealth of information. It's not
Do you
sometimes.
think he would be connected with our mustard seed here in Cleveland?
No.
No?
No, but I think somebody once a long time ago started those, and I don't know if this is part of that chain or if there's just different ones. But I want to say Hilltop, Tennessee. I just can't remember the name of it. But if you Google that, you should be able to pull it up, and then you give them the number. But that's who I would contact. And if not, you can email me, and I will give you his email address or phone number.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Melody Prettyman, my name, @gmail.com. What can we use in place of pain relievers? Muscle soreness. I like to take the coconut coconut oil and mix it with cayenne, depending on how severe the pain is. And I like to rub that. I've done it on my knee, I've done it on my shoulder. For a long time, I had this awful pain in my shoulder. I thought I had fibromyalgia. And it just finally went away with my diet and everything, it went away. But I like to use a cayenne muscle rub, and again, that's where I use oil as a base, just to rub it on the body. Most people have a headache because they are dehydrated. They're dehydrated. And we need how many glasses of water a day?
8.
Minimum, because that, you need so much, glass per so many, your body weight. So I would say 8 to 10 a day. Achy feet, alcohol, good old Epsom salt. You know, we quit using Epsom salt, and it's wonderful. I like to put it in my bath and use it in my bath if you're achy. There's sometimes, like when Mark and I we did the 380 encampment for 5 years. And we could be in there at 4 in the morning till 9 at night. And that's a lot to be on your feet in a day's time, just running and running and running. I think one year we had 2,500 people we served every meal. Yes.
Didn't they pull Epsom salt off their shelves?
No, that's,
No,
that was bath,
that's
bath.
The
bath
bath
salt.
salt.
That's a
Okay.
big difference.
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, that's
Okay, okay. Sore throat, natural teeth, there are so many, you know.
What's natural teeth? You mean any herb teeth?
Yeah, like a herb tea, and I think there's one here in my recipes. I'm gonna have you guys, somebody can pass these out. But I want just what's today's. I don't think, look here.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are for today's. Okay? And at Young Disciple Camp one year, we had a girl that brought in some kind of stuff. And it was pretty bad. The kids started getting sick. They started having high fever. They started having sore throat. And, you know, you're at a camp with a bunch of kids and you have a nurse and a doctor, but you don't have the facilities. You have a hospital. And the nurse come in and she said, oh, I need Tylenol, this. And I said, oh, no, we don't want to do that. Oh, I've got these kids with sore throats. And I said, okay. I went in and I cut my top sheet. I started with a queen and ended up with a full size. And I took my blanket and I cut it into strips. Enough for the kids to wrap around their throats. And I did a hydrotherapy. So I took the sheet, wet it, put it around their throat, put the blanket around that pendant, and then put plastic, cut a trash bag, and put over the very top. Because I wanted the moisture, the wet moisture in their throat. And then I gave them charcoal tablets to suck on. Now the girl who came in sick, her dad come and got her, took her to the hospital. She was in that hospital for like 11 days. The kids who we did the hydrotherapy on, wrapped them in for the temperatures. We had them, you know, get down to as little close as possible. We wrapped wet towels around them and wrapped them in blankets so we could keep the water and moisture and pull the temperature out of their body, wrap their throats, gave them that, and in 24 hours they come back in and give them this stuff, said, we're fine now, we're gone, and out they were. But the girl who remained 11 days sick was a girl who went to the hospital that they used drugs on. And all the other kids in camp were fine within 24 hours. Huh? That's for tomorrow.
Now you have up there for headache water. You just
Drink it. Yeah, most people are dehydrated. Now, you can also take hot boiling water, and you have to be careful if you're a diabetic, but you can take boiling water as hot as you can stand it. Wrap yourself in a blanket, put your feet in hot water, keep pouring it hot, hot, hot. If you need to, put an ice pack on the back of your neck or on your forehead, and what are you doing? You're pulling the blood down from the head to the feet, and you drink a glass of water every 10 minutes for at least 30 minutes. Yes?
Is that the same thing with the hot and cold shower too?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's hydrotherapy. It works. And most of the time when you have a headache, it's lack of sleep, something, probably too much sugar, and most of the time it's water. You're just dehydrated. You know how you go through the day and you'll go, man, I just can't think. I just have this cloudy mind, you know. You just can't seem to focus. Most of the time it's lack of water. What about herbs? I love herbs. Herbs are used to stimulate the body's self-healing powers and they remove underlying causes of illnesses. Then the herbs are used to nourish and tone all the organs in the system, the body from the inside out. What a lot of people don't realize is that prescription medication, drugs, are nothing more than a synthetic herb. Did you know that? The drug company came in and found out they can make all this money by replicating an herb with something that wasn't natural with chemicals, and so that's where drugs came from. They were trying to mimic herbs. And there was a law they tried to pass a few years back. Do you remember that? That nobody was allowed to grow or use herbs? Because they weren't governed by the FDA.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
You know, omega-3 is supposed to be like the best for us, you know, healthy and everything. In some kind of way, the pharmaceuticals took omega-3 and made a drug called, I think it was called Provenza, something like that. And now it has so many side effects to it, like the commercial would give, and so many side effects. And I'm like, what did they do to the omega-3?
Why not just use flaxseed? Why not use chia seed? Chia and flax seeds. That's what I use. I don't need that other stuff. I bought a coffee grinder to grind my flaxseed in. And every morning, if I eat an apple or whatever I eat, whether it's savory or sweet, I put at least 2 tablespoons of flaxseed on my food. I put it on my salad a lot. I put nutritional yeast flakes. I just don't put a lot of dressings and stuff. I just eat my salad without dressing.
Is the flaxseed oil good?
It's better to use the flax seed that's ground,
The meal?
Right.
fresh.
All right, gotcha.
It has its highest potency when it's fresh. Why are we turning to natural remedies? We are now better informed to the benefits of natural alternatives compared to their prescription counterparts and their risk of long-term side effects. Actually, another one is cost. Drug manufactured by large pharmaceutical companies are expensive since they are processed. They have high advertisement. They have to market it as a commercial commodity. On the other hand, natural home remedies are cheaper to produce. The drug companies do not want you to use herbs. They do not want you to use natural things. You know, just like I'm saying, my daughter-in-law makes $500,000 a year for one drug. She has 4 states here, and she manages these drug reps, and she gets paid $500,000 a year. If she gets paid that much, and she has 9 reps that she manages, how much is that drug company making? Because her employees make probably around $150,000 to $200,000. That's a lot for just them. That's not counting the other parts of the United States. I'm talking just this area for one drug. And that company could have 10 drugs. But she's assigned to this drug. It's crazy. Also, they're easy to find since natural home remedies require herbs, vegetables, fruits, and spices alone. Finding one that is right for any type of minor illness is easy, much easier. They're milder, unlike over-the-counter syrups and medicines. Natural home remedies are unspoiled, they're fresh, and of course natural. We know that. Garlic. Garlic is wonderful for you. Yesterday, when I started to feel a little run down, because I have been run down. I've been running left to right, and Satan was just pounding me all day. He didn't want me here. I'm telling you, I don't know who, but he didn't want me here. There is somebody that's going to benefit from this, and he knows it. So he didn't want me here. I was supposed to leave yesterday and come to my mom's, and I left this morning. And I didn't feel too good yesterday, and I always feel great. And I'm thinking, okay, why do I feel tired? So I drank I made your Russian penicillin today, so you're going to taste it. And so I drank 2 glasses of it. And took some charcoal, and I thought, whatever I've got's going to be gone in a minute. The medicinal contents are pure and directly attack the illnesses you're trying to cure. Since it is natural, it does not have strong components like over-the-counter medications. They're more effective. Natural home remedies treat a wide range of minor illnesses. A simple garlic, a simple ginger, or honey can treat several types of minor illnesses. You know for years, doctors carried nothing more than honey in their bags. For skin abrasions, for internal, honey. Honey. A lot of women don't realize that you can rub honey on the face and leave it on there for 20, 30 minutes and wash it off, and it helps with wrinkles. Ooh. Tofu on a burn will get rid of a burn.
You mean like tofu out of a pack?
Just take it out of the pack, put a wrap it or something on a burn. Oh yeah. Fewer side effects. Over-the-counter medications contain several ingredients that attack the intended elements. However, it doesn't stop there. Such medications affect your other functions with the side effects. The most common of these are drowsiness. Folks, we give our children cough syrup that's nothing more than alcohol and sugar. Alcohol and sugar. We give this to our children. We take NyQuil. Yeah, mouthwash. Hey, there's alcoholics who drink cologne and mouthwash. Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah. At least their breath is not good. Side effects are minimized since homemade remedies only contain pure medicinal purposes. I had come home from a trip out in Washington, and as soon as I get home, my granddaughter, boom, she's at that door. And my son loves it, because 2 or 3 days, and she'll say, okay, Daddy, do not come back after me for 3 days. And he says, I'm not coming home. And I'm staying with Grandma. And she come in with a cold. He said, Mom, we've been nursing this cold for 2 weeks, and I can't get rid of that cough. And I said, I can't. So I took an onion, I hauled it out, made like a soup bowl. Cut the top of it off, left the bottom on, hauled it out, filled it with some honey, filled it with some peppermint, and squeezed a bunch of lemon juice in there. And I shut the lid off, and with a little water in the bottom of the pan, and I just let that onion permeate right in that sweet peppermint. Because the benefits of the onion are phenomenal. And I told her I let it cool down, I set it up there, I said, now anytime you got a cough, take your little stool over and get you a teaspoon. And I got to watching her, I mean, it was just all day long she was taking this. And now, not lately, since she's older, but she'd come over, Grandma, I think I need some of that cough. But you know what? It took me 2 days to get rid of her cough, and then I took some onions, I chopped them up, I put them in the oven, and I told her, I said, let's watch cartoons together. And I said, Grandma wants to put this on your chest, and I took those warm onions and took some saran wrap, and I wrapped them around her little chest, and onions draw.
Yep.
Onions draw.
But you need to put a paper towel in between, is that right? You don't want to put it directly on the skin, is that?
Normally I put a damp towel or something. Yeah. Now I put it on my skin, it doesn't bother me because it's cooked, it's not raw.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You put them in the oven.
I put them in the oven and I just got them nice and not quite transparent. I chopped them up and then they were long strips. And then I put them over the top of her chest and wrapped it up. And then put a little towel around it. She said, Grandma, this stinks. And I said, that's okay. That's okay. Just you and I are going to smell it, and then we can get a bath. And I drew that out. I did the same thing with me when I had an ear infection one time. I took that onion, cut it in half, put it face down in the oven on a pan, took it over and put it on my ear, and I just let that, as hot as I could stand it with those juices going down in my ear, and the next day my ear quit hurting. Simple things that we can do for ourselves. I remember when they used to tell you, my grandma, that cigarette smokers blow smoke in your ear and it would help for hearing.
Yeah, right.
Do you remember those days? That does get my age away. One thing to know, by natural home remedies cure certain illnesses, modern medical treatments are still far better if they are treating major diseases. If I was to have a car accident and I was to sever a limb or something and they had to do surgery and said, I need to give you antibiotics, don't you think for 1 minute, I'm going to take pain medication during that, and I'm also going to take that antibiotic. But after that antibiotic, I'm also going to take some kind of probiotic because the good flora is going to be gone, so I need to build my good flora back up. Because antibiotics don't know the difference between good flora and bad flora. They only know to get rid of it.
They can get rid of good stuff too.
Well, yeah, that's why a lot of women suffer from yeast infections and stuff after they take,
The antibiotic.
because of the antibiotic. It strips all the bacteria out of your body, good or bad. And and the flora is the good bacteria that we want. So once you have a regimen of any kind of antibiotic, then you must build up that good bacteria again, because if not, then you can have a lot of things that go on in there. H. pylori is one that can happen. Like I said, yeast infections. There's a lot of things that can happen when your good flora is gone, your good bacteria.
Well, what about the probiotics good for us?
There's vegan yogurts. There are good probiotics that you can buy in the store, in health food stores.
Okay.
That's what you need to build that back up again. One thing is for sure, if natural home remedies survive for no one knows how long, it's sure to be effective in the easiest, fastest, safest, and cheapest way. We know this. Our parents used it. I mean, I can remember when my mom would say, oh, if your feet hurt, just put them in Epsom salts or rub alcohol on it. And I thought, I'm not going to listen to that. That's old fogey stuff. Well, now I use old fogey stuff because it works. It works. Remember the next time you get a cough, make the honey cough syrup, try the tea for sore throat better yet, drink a lemon. Drink water to eliminate that headache. I remember that from I don't know how many times ago, and I keep forgetting to change it, but you'd be surprised at how many people catch that. On your packet, I can't see what time is it. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. On your packet, you have the recipes for the tea for the high blood pressure. Also, it's out here. I want you to try it. You have the Russian penicillin. Now, this is the original recipe, but I do this and I don't put the olive oil in mine. I do it totally without, because really it's the lemon, it's the garlic, and the orange juice that's the best beneficial to you. I use this laundry soap all the time. I have not bought commercial laundry soap in years. And I probably save an average, I think a box of laundry powder, say you do Tide, I've got a liquid and a dry. This one's a liquid here. When I make this, I think I spend on an average of $15 to $20 a year on laundry soap. That gives you extra money to buy more seeds and nuts. Natural disinfectant. Vinegar, I have in every cabinet, my bathroom, in my kitchen. If you have pets, mop your floor with vinegar, put it around, clean out your pet dishes with it. If somebody gets sick, I use it in my commode, I use it in my bathtub, I use it on my sinks, we use it on mirrors. Remember, our parents used to use vinegar to clean the glass. It's the best natural disinfectant because 98% of all bacteria.
They rather use, I noticed on Dr. Oz one time that they use vinegar to disinfect. They don't recommend you use all that chlorine bleach.
No, no. And some doctor's offices, they will use vinegar because the smell dissipates once it dries. So it doesn't leave that stinky, like, dirty feet is what it reminds me of. Borax is another thing. I had a lady in Arkansas one time, she said, I don't use an exterminator anymore. And she was in the South, she said, you know, we have cockroaches out here and ants, fire ants. And she said, I went around the whole base of my house on the outside with borax. And she said, I come home one day and I had an infestation of fleas. And she said, I took my dog, I took him outside, tied him up, went through every bit of my carpet with borax. She said, we were gone about 2 hours, come home and vacuum, and I've never seen another flea. And I would much rather have that if somebody come in and spray those harsh chemicals into my home with my children or pets, myself, and smell them. I'd rather have the borax in there if I had to have it. I think that was all that's on this side. And then the soothing gel, eye gel, this one is really good, especially for somebody who works at nights or doesn't sleep well, or they have, most of the time people that have really puffy eyes, it's an allergy. That's a good recipe. I did make the whitening toothpaste. It liquefied because I kept it out in my car and forgot to put it in the cooler. So I hope it's in the refrigerator downstairs. I've got a little Q-tip and you can try it. Sure, it makes your teeth black when you're brushing with it, but it makes your teeth so white and bright. I have never had my teeth whitened. I've never had my teeth polished, they just clean them. And my dentist, when I go to him, he says, Melanie, I just go through the motions. You hardly have anything at all for me to clean off your teeth. And I use this, and I use peroxide.
Question.
Food grade?
No, I just use hydrogen peroxide. Just hydrogen peroxide.
Be careful about swallowing them.
Right, you do. I know. I just put it right on my toothbrush, brush over the top, spit out, and then I use my toothpaste that I use. Yes?
For the gel, aloe vera gel,
Yeah.
do you buy the natural plant or you just get the?
Either.
Either?
You can use either of them. They've got really good in tubes. It's just the same, but if you have the plant, I always prefer anything that's fresh and as
Right.
natural as possible. So you can use either of them.
You think that would be good for dry eyes?
I don't know. I can look to see what, I've got an encyclopedia that I bring with me. I can't show you today because it's Sabbath, but I'll have it tomorrow. We can look at it. It's like having a doctor at your fingertips. I sell them and it helps support my ministry. But they're big, thick, they weigh 7 pounds.
Okay.
It is the most wonderful book in the whole world. But it has 7,700 remedies for diseases in there. Yes.
Since we have just a few minutes, when we say basically done, is that right? Okay. Could you spend some time for us? We have a lot of, the two things you talked about. Well, one of the things which is high blood pressure. But could you spend some time talking about diabetes? We hear it all the time, but since there's such an increase now, even among the youth of diabetes too, and then you said it's curable. So could you spend a few minutes and tell how easy and just how
Sure.
blood pressure it took you 3 days to do it if you have blood pressure, you haven't been on medicine?
I'm not leaving here if somebody's got a hand up.
Okay.
If you guys have questions or there's something you want to comment, when there's no more questions, then we're done. So I don't put myself on a time. I have to give a time frame because somebody here might have other plans. So I said this seminar is between 4 and 6. But that doesn't mean we're done. As long as you want to sit here, you want to ask me questions, I'm here. So any questions you have, yes. One thing I will address is diabetes. What causes diabetes?
Sugar.
No. What causes diabetes?
Diet.
Pardon?
Diet.
Yes, sir?
Bad diet.
What, but what in the diet?
Starch.
Over burning the pancreas.
What causes diabetes is a high-fat,
That's me.
refined carbohydrate diet. So we're talking white flour, French fries, potato chips, which is fat and carb. But carbohydrates are not bad for diabetics. And I know some of you out there are going to say, I can't have carbs. But you got to listen to me. There are different carbohydrates. When I take white flour, where I've taken all the wheat germ and I've taken everything that's good out of my flour and stripped it out, and I add eggs, and I add butter, and I add sugar, and I make my cookies, or I make my pancakes, or I make my muffins, or I make my cakes, then I've got a high-fat, simple carbohydrate diet that is turning the American people into sick diabetics. The difference between type 1 diabetes is normally they're born with it. Or like some people that have it don't really know it. It takes them a few years. This onset diabetes that they're calling right now because they weren't born with it and it's not adult diabetes, so we'll give it a different name, is nothing more than children that have adapted to our sad diet at a much younger age, and so it's hitting them younger than it's hitting us. So really it's type 2 diabetes with a different name. So you got type 1 and type 2. Type 2 you can reverse and or eliminate. Type 1 you can do a lot of good with it. You might not be able to reverse it, but you can sure be a lot better off. if you are going by the standard diet that is set forth from you, from the Diabetes Association, you will never get off the medication. You will be taking more and you will always be sick. Because they've come out with a diet plan that works with the medication. And they allow you so many carbohydrates a day, and they allow you so much desserts. And so they tell you you can have this and they can have this. But if you say, oh, I want to eat a potato, you can't have that. But you can have a piece of pie.
Wow. Psychology.
Do you see what I'm saying? All right.
Wow.
Dr. Neil Bernard has done the most with diabetes. In his book, Prevent Reverse Diabetes. I've sat in on his seminars, I have seen it, I have seen testimonies, I've watched, I've listened to them. It's amazing what these people have done. And they did it on a starch diet. But it was complex carbohydrates. It was corn without butter and salt. It was grits without butter and salt. It was a plant-based diet. It was a whole plant-based diet. It was no refined sugar. And these people have reversed, no insulin. I wish you had the internet here. You might have it. I was going to say, I could show you a little clip called the Eat Diet, where this guy, it's a little trailer from the show Eat, and you can show that here too. And it talks about how this guy, within 24 hours, didn't have to take insulin.
Was he really a type 1?
No, I said type 2. Remember, I said type 1.
Okay.
You can help it, but I don't know. Very few people that have ever really reversed type 1. The pancreas is already shot. So I'm talking type 2. Okay? And some type 2s might not be able to, but for most of them, they can. Now, I wasn't on insulin yet, but I had a very high-fat, high-refined carbohydrate diet. I eat a lot of carbs, folks. Potatoes are my friends, and I eat them a lot. I can eat potatoes and beans in the morning. I can eat rice, but I don't eat white rice. I eat brown rice. I eat whole grain. I eat red rice. I eat black rice. I do not eat white rice. I don't even use flour. I don't make desserts for myself anymore, and I make waffles and pancakes out of whole oats and polenta. I use whole grains to make them. I just blend them out in the vitamins. Yes,
I just want to say one more thing about the diabetes, because sometimes we deal with stuff that's common, but there's also cases where you have diabetes or arthritis or some other stuff that I'm hoping I'm going to talk to you about, and maybe if you have time you can address it tomorrow. That somebody mentioned that we address certain things because they're the ones that are the norm for everybody, but there are some other things that need to be addressed too. But the other thing with the diabetes and some other things is stress. You can develop the heart disease, the diabetes, the high blood pressure from, or arthritis from stress. And that's something rarely dealt with, but you can't. So for those who say, well, I don't do any of those things, and I'm not overweight and whatever, stress will give you any of those diseases not discovered. So for those of us
we can put our body in stress by just the bad foods we eat.
Yeah.
There's different types of stress. We put stress on our body in many ways. But first of all, we have 8 health laws. 8 health laws, right?
Amen.
So if you're only doing 6 of those 8 health laws, you're only going to get 80% out of them, right? Because you still got 20% you're not doing. So if you want 100% of it, you obey those 8 health laws. And it's simple. Rest. What is that? What is it? God's 8 health laws. I know it's sunshine, new start,
New start.
nutrition,
Exercise, water, sunlight,
Trust.
temperance,
Temperance.
air, rest, trust in God.
Trust in God.
Yes. for most of you in this room, I'm speaking for most of you in this room, if you change and go to a whole plant-based diet and you eliminate all these processed foods, you're gonna have the extra money to buy those things that are organic.
Amen.
You will. I buy beans. Do you know that Michigan is the second largest grower of beans in the United States?
No, I didn't know.
You can drive right up here to Ithaca, where they have some of the big grain mills, and I'll be up in that way here pretty soon, because I gotta go to Warren. And I'll buy 50 to 100 pounds of beans. I'll buy cranberries, black beans, white beans, butter beans. I'll buy them all. I buy them all. And you know what? I can get some of them, I bought them for 30 cents a pound. Rice, I can go to Costco and buy, and I'm sure there's got to be a member in this church that's a member of Costco.
Yeah.
And I can buy a big 25-pound bag of organic brown rice,
Yeah.
and it's like $13, $14. Folks, it's not that you don't have the money to eat the food you should eat. You're eating the wrong foods, and it's taking all your money.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And I buy organic. All my bananas are organic. They taste better. I bought grapes yesterday on sale for $1.99 organic. And Brenda come home and bought grapes that were not organic, paid $2.49 a pound for them. And I said, I knew which ones were which, and I said, I put them behind me, and I mixed them up, and I said, eat these. And she did, and I said, which one you like? She said, that one. I said, that was the organic one. And she tasted them, she said, you're right. I can tell the difference. So you watch the paper, watch the sales. You don't go to one grocery store. Might take you a little bit more gas, and I know gas is high right now with that refinery that went out in Indiana, or the excuse, that's what they used. But you'll carpool, use each other. The members of the church, go together. Go together, because you're going to be a beacon in this community, not only spiritually but physically. And everybody's, I guarantee you, if you're unhealthy and you make this change and you start making this wonderful transformation, the people around you is going to say, Sister Sue, what are you doing? Oh, I don't think you want to know. Well, yeah, I want to know. No, you don't want to know. Yeah, what are you doing? Well, if I tell you, you won't believe it. Tell me. When they see you start losing weight, let me tell you what, you are a magnet. Everybody wants to know, what are you doing? I'm eating. What do you mean you're eating? I'm eating all the food I want. How can you do that? I eat what I want. I sit down and eat when I want and what I want, but most of the time I eat 2 meals a day, maybe fruit for a snack. But I said, I'm loving it. I love my diet. Well, how can you eat all the food? And when I tell them, then it's like, oh, well, I don't really want to give up this or give up that. Gotta give up something.
What about blue potatoes?
What?
Blue potatoes.
Aren't they wonderful?
Good.
I love them. I love red potatoes. I love those. I love them. Huh? I love yams. I love sweet potatoes, yams. I don't care what color they are. It does not matter.
I never had them.
Why are you prejudice over your food? Who cares?
I never had them.
If God created it and it's natural and it's a food that grows naturally and you're not putting stuff on it, eat it. I like white potatoes. I like the yellow girls, the Yukon, the butterbuds. There are blue potatoes. There are red potatoes, new potatoes. There are russet potatoes. They're just different varieties, but they're none of them bad. My favorite is red, and I love the blue. Have you seen at Costco those little fingerlings?
Yeah.
Oh, if you tried them, steamed them, and put a few herbs on. Costco also, folks, has an herb that is, now it does have some pepper in it. I buy it. It's got very little in there, and I think it's a red pepper. But it's all these herbs, organic, with no sodium. And I'll take onion and bell pepper, put that seasoning in there, put it in my water and my rice. When, you know, rice is 2-to-1 ratio. So like a cup of rice, 2 cups of water. Put your seasoning in there, put the lid on, when the water's gone, it's done. That's it. And I've had people, when I lived in my apartment back in Texas, when I'm home, Melanie, what are you cooking in there?
smell it or?
It smells up the whole place.
What's the
Yes.
name of it? I wanna ask this one.
It's Costco's organic seasoning with no salt. It's in a square little container. You'll see it in there where their salts and their seasonings are. But it is fabulous. I put it in the refrigerator to keep it nice and fresh. Oh, I use it on a lot. I take potatoes and I cut them up in water. I don't peel my potatoes. The skins are good for you. That's where most of your nutrients and vitamins are. So I take and I clean and chop them up, put them in water, drain the water off, sprinkle the dill or the basil, the herbs, whatever I want on, put it in the oven, bake them. They come out nice and crispy. No oil, no nothing. You can use parchment paper or a grooved pan, but I don't spray it. I don't spray it with nothing. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask a question. I got stung by a bee. And
Yeah.
the sister is still in your arm. Do you have to go get antibiotics or can you find something?
Did you take that stinger out?
I mean,
Huh?
it's still in it. But they said you have to go get shots for antibiotics. But it's just.
I haven't heard of that, but I would probably put a charcoal poultice on and try to pull it out. I would try to get it to come out. I would either do a cut potato with the skin and let it pull, it draws, onion draws, or I do charcoal.
She may not be familiar with the charcoal, unfortunately, but you are with the potato and it's something else.
Honey.
Honey, to take the beef.
Yeah, I would try to draw it out naturally. And then charcoal, I would take charcoal tablets, I would take the charcoal tablets to fight off any infection.
Yeah.
I really want to try to understand about, where did he go?
It's called sometimers.
Sometime.
Yeah,
It's
sometime.
gone, it's like,
Yeah, come right in, out, it'll come back. To somebody else, she'll think about it. Anything else? Can we go and have that? Oh.
You ever eat purple yam?
I think I have.
I think that.
Honey, there is not a vegetable I don't love.
They're very sweet and good.
They are. Now, I've asked people this, there's a sweet potato and there's a yam, and there's a few different, types of yams. Yams are sweeter, aren't they, than sweet potatoes?
Yes.
I thought so. And at Thanksgiving, I take and boil and I don't put the water over my yams, I put it in the bottom and steam them to about 2/3 cooked. And then I refrigerate them, jacket everything on them just like they are. And then I peel it and I cut them in discs and I put them on top of my griddle with no oil and I brown each side of them and they're so delicious. And I don't have to put the sugar. Maple syrup is awesome, but it is not good for you. It takes how many gallons of maple syrup of the syrup from the tree to actually make one sap from the tree to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. It's highly processed.
Organic, even the good stuff.
Huh?
Even the good stuff, like you buy, not the ones you buy.
It's all good. It's just not good for
It's
you.
not good.
It's all good.
I don't know how to do it.
Is honey good for you?
Yeah.
I think honey and molasses is probably the best. I do.
Hey,
Wouldn't honey just be spit? Really?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
What's the other
Yeah.
one?
Spit of the
Agave?
Agave.
Agave?
agave nectar is highly processed, even though they say,
yeah.
it's good on the glycemic index, it's
Yes.
not good either. Blackstrap molasses, and I'll tell you, one of the best things you can use is dates. I use dates in anything I'm doing where I want something sweet. I just throw my dates in there and use them.
So you're saying honey is good for the external, but not the.
You can use honey too in really small amounts, but remember, it's better, like when I make oatmeal in the morning or quinoa or even grits, if I want a sweet grit, because I do a grit sweet and savory. I'll put a little coconut in my water, I'll put some banana, I'll put some raisins, I might put a couple dates in there, I might put a little cinnamon, some people don't like cinnamon, they don't use it, it's up to them. And I'll cut up an apple, and I cook that right in with my grain, so it's nice and sweet and savory, so I don't have to have the salt and sugar in it. And then, Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful, sister, it's wonderful. Sure, you can make a sweet bread, of course.
I like the cheese sauce bread, but, you were talking about, I would like to know, we'll discuss a little bit about GMOs. I know Sister Janice had told me about, the seeds. My sister was growing those tomatoes that hang down as you buy off television or order them. And we know that those are genetically modified tomatoes. And she told me about a seedling company because Monsanto had control over, 85% of the seed companies or something across the world.
It does.
So the local farmers, they gave us coupons for being 60 years old. They give us, you get in a lottery, and I won it the first time. And I got $50 worth of coupons. They said I could only go to local farmers, and I could only buy stuff that's locally grown with those coupons. Not bananas, not pineapples and mangoes, stuff like that. It's not locally grown. So I was wondering, with those vegetables, more than likely, Monsanto maybe has got a hold of them, and they're using Monsanto seed.
I couldn't tell you that. I know when I went to Grand Rapids the other day, I passed Monsanto and my skin just literally crawled. I seen this big Monsanto manufacturer because it's horrible how they monopolize the farmers. But there are some farmers out there that have some heirloom seeds, some seeds that come back year after year after year, where Monsanto's does not. So I've seen some people plant them, but then the next year, if something does come back on them, it's either very distorted or something. So because you have to use a chemical with that, and it's so the bugs don't come in and bother it. But a lot of the bugs need to do that to our food. I think that's a cycle that God created there. But I would ask them, I've asked farmers, we've got some corn over in Indiana that is just the sweetest stuff I've ever tasted. And I asked him, I said, is this GMO? And he went back and talked to him and she said, no, it's not GMO. But they didn't advertise it non-GMO. You know they're trying to pass this law right now, and there's a lot of fighting over it where it has to state whether it's GMO or not. So I have a feeling if it's not labeled and it comes from the store, it could be, because they're really great about saying non-GMO.
Yes.
So if it doesn't say GMO free, it might not be. There are some things I don't worry about. Mangoes is one I don't worry about because of the skin. Avocados is another one. At my age, I'm not as worried about GMO. If I was at childbearing years or my children, I would be probably very concerned with GMO. At my age at 60, I don't know how it will affect me, and there's probably been so much I've eaten, I have no idea, honestly. You just, it's getting, I do believe we're getting wiser, and people are saying no. We're taking a stand, and we're saying absolutely not. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens in this country. I mean, so far, everybody goes out and says they're going to be our president, and they're going to promise the sun, moon, and stars. I haven't even seen the sun yet. So, I don't know.
I want to know, are we going to be on the other side?
You're just going to sample the blood pressure tea and the Russian penicillin, and I've got little Q-tips for you to stick in and try the toothpaste. I just have to go down and get the orange juice and the toothpaste out first.
See what kind of sample
you were going to.
She said, long as they ask questions, she's going to be obedient. We can't go get our sample.
I wasn't here for it. You mentioned that about the allergy and stuff like that.
Gluten-free is huge, huge right now. There was a study done at the Mayo Clinic on gluten because they started to notice that people are having problems with wheat intolerance and celiac disease. And so they had all these blood samples from the military men back in the early 40s and early 50s and 30s. So they started testing these blood samples, and they found out that there was hardly any trace of any allergy related to their blood from celiac or wheat intolerance. And so the doctor who was doing this from the Mayo Clinic said that he started to notice when people were going to the doctor and the diseases started to be diagnosed. And during that time, pesticides increased, herbicides increased, and then came in genetic modification. Genetic modification, folks, came in years before we knew anything about it. Yeah, it came in. And what he's saying, and it made such good sense, because I remember as a kid, don't you remember wheat being about 3 feet tall? And when the wind would blow, it almost laid down. It was kind of so tall. Well, now most of your wheat is anywhere between 16 to 20 inches tall. That's from genetic modification. And that's what he's saying. Our problems with the allergies we're having to wheats, glutens, is not because we have an allergy to wheat. It's from what they're doing to our wheat. Because we know the Bible talks about wheat. Bread is a staff of life. I'd love to sit down and eat me a wonderful piece of big bread. I love bread. Ezekiel, if I was buying bread, my only bread I would buy would be Ezekiel.
Ezekiel bread.
And I know people that are wheat intolerant that can eat Ezekiel because it's not flour. It's made from sprouted seeds. And even Jim Gilly can eat that. He's celiac too. As I cook for the people at 3ABN who have the allergies, I'm the one that cooked for them. Like, was it your church? Somebody here in this area is having Kenny Shelton.
That was President True. They've had it.
President True, yeah, his wife is allergic to soy. She has a hard problem she has with certain, so I know what she can eat and what she can't. She's dairy free and she can't have soy. So I remember all these. Danny Shelton's allergic to onions and bell peppers. I said, that's just against the law. Yeah. And Shelley has some allergies. She's allergic to soy. I mean, I have all kinds of, I cooked for them for years, so I know what their allergies are. And, I can't think of her name. The Dare to Dream. What's her name? Yvonne, she's allergic to coconut. Yeah, where do all these allergies come from? And I do believe our bodies have been compromised. Our immune system has broke down. And when that happens, then we develop these allergies. And I found out about my problem with celiac in my 50s. I never had a problem to wheat that I knew of. It just hit me late in life. Yes?
What did you say about blackstrap molasses? Because I know,
Blackstrap molasses is okay if you can eat it. I just think it's the most nauseous.
they had me giving it to my daughter in for aunt. She had they had me give her blackstrap molasses for
iron.
instead of giving her those red
Raisins are good for iron.
that they pass out with you.
Yeah. I'm so sorry for her because I can't. I think it's disgusting. I don't like
I used to put it in her
blackstrap.
formula and she just drinks
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's good.
And then when she got sicker later, her doctors told me to put her back on blackstrap molasses.
Yeah, it's not bad. Blackstrap molasses is a bad. Dates are my favorite. They're my #1 choice. Honey's probably my second choice, but dates are my first because they're natural and you're just pureeing the seed. Any other questions? Did I get everybody? I don't want to keep you guys here too late.